Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we love geeky wisdom. If you're new to the channel, my name is Brian, and today I'm going to go over some things about the Open Gaming License, an update on my last video, the biggest D&D controversy for years and years. And in the last video, I talked about the OGL, or the Open Gaming License, and I said I would keep you posted on what's going on, so here I am keeping you posted. Again, this is for people who are new to the hobby or don't really have all the inside scoop of what's going on, but I think anybody that is following things will also be able to follow along with what I'm saying today. And many other great channels have released videos with their own perspectives on this whole situation, I guess you'd call it. I've also included direct links to the news articles written by Linda Cadega and official responses from Wizards of the Coast so you can read everything for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to share my thoughts on the whole situation as it stands now. It changes all the time. I was going to record this video about 5 times and I had to change what I was going to say, but anyway. After the news broke about the leaked OGL 1.1, the community really banded together and spoke out. And they realized that the proposed changes were really restrictive and harmful to the industry and the community as a whole. In response to the leak, Wizards of the Coast, the publisher of Dungeons & Dragons, didn't say anything for almost a week. And during that time, when they said nothing, other publishers announced that they were going to move away from the OGL. They were going to not really use OGL 1.0 and 1.1 and pursue other options. A few notable names in the industry were Kobold Press and MCDM, who plan to create their own role-playing games and not rely on the Open Gaming License. Paizo, the second largest player in the tabletop role-playing game industry, announced that they would be funding a new license called the Open RPG Creative License, or ORC. Awesome. Which would be run by a nonprofit organization. So it wouldn't be tied to this company, so they couldn't own it moving forward, which is great. It's designed to be more open and flexible and allow for greater creativity and innovation within the industry. So stay tuned as that, develops. But since then, Paizo has reported over 1,500 companies are now signed on and supporting ORC. It's a big shift in the industry. And when I say the community came together, they really came together. They created a Dndbeyond campaign, encouraging individuals to unsubscribe from Dndbeyond in protest over what was going on. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, Dndbeyond is a digital tool set that lets you play the game with these digital tools rather than just pen and paper. It is very convenient, but it also comes with a monthly subscription fee, and it's where Wizards of the Coast is trying to push everybody into that subscription fee and making money through all the digital channels that they're going to end up having, which is a big deal for them. So it's no wonder that a Dndbeyond campaign prompted Wizards and Hasbro, by the way, to delay the rollout of the new Open Gaming License and change their messaging. So then on January 13th, Wizards released a statement apologizing and reversing some of the OGL changes. However, it was kind of met with skepticism by the community, and me as well, because it was perceived to be insincere, mainly because they said things like, "Our plan was always to solicit the input from our community before any update to the OGL. The drafts you've seen were attempting to do just that," which is just not true. According to reporting from Gizmodo, several sources have revealed that 20 or so third-party creators were presented with the OGL 1.1 in December of last year. And they were offered the opportunity to sign sort of sweetheart deals that would provide them with sort of a better, improved royalty term than what was outlined in the 1.1. They also said, "You're going to hear people say that they won and we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won, and so did we." I mean, how condescending can you get? They wanted to gaslight the community into thinking that it was all part of the grand plan to have people speak out and give feedback to change what they were doing. This is what they wanted. Then on January 18th, Kyle Brink, the executive producer of D&D, issued another apology and acknowledged the issues with the OGL 1.1. This was better, by the way, I have to say. He promised to gather feedback from the community before finalizing the next OGL. And while Brink's apology was nice, It's a little weird that the Dndbeyond account that he used to post the apology was only a few hours old at the time of posting the response. You can click and look and see when that person joined. So if that's his actual account and he is the longtime D&D player and enthusiast that he claims, and I'm not saying he's not, he just hasn't been playing any games using D&D Beyond. And what does that say about wanting to drive more people to use D&D Beyond if their own executive producer of D&D hasn't been using it and he's only had an account for a few hours at the time of post? What does that mean? So then they released a draft. This time it was an actual draft. They had draft all over it in big words. And it was better, I guess. It had some improvements, but it's still worse than the original OGL 1.0a. There's still a long way to go to get things right, and many in the community are moving on to other games, which I think is fine and it makes sense. The release of OGL 1.1 and the reaction from the community shows how the importance of transparency and communication between companies and their customers is more important than ever. It also highlights the need for open and flexible licenses that allow for creativity and innovation within the industry, because that's what kept the industry going, including Wizards of the Coast. Things are changing very quickly. I won't be able to create enough videos to keep up. We don't know the impact of the final version of the OGL because we haven't seen it. We don't know what it's going to do to the industry. But what it comes down to is Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have managed to kill the D&D brand in a matter of weeks by breaking the trust that they had built with their dedicated fans and community over the years. It's unfortunate that it took thousands of people canceling their D&D Beyond subscriptions for the company to actually take action and respond to the concerns. It shouldn't have taken that long. And while we're forcing some changes as a community, Hasbro and Wizards still have a long way to go to regain the trust and make things right. It's likely going to result in people moving away from the game and ongoing boycotts of new products and subscriptions and even the upcoming D&D movie. It's really crazy to me that it only took a matter of weeks for Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to almost kill the D&D brand. But while the D&D brand has been knocked down to 0 hit points, the game won't die. D&D is a shared experience amongst friends at a table, whether it's a physical table or a virtual table, doesn't really matter. And while we're playing the game, it's our game, no one else's. It's the variety of content that we've had, including the official stuff, but also third-party materials and even the homebrew stuff we all create that allow the DMs and the players to really shape their game. And I think that while many of us won't be buying anything new from Wizards of the Coast, we can all continue to enjoy D&D and support all of the independent creators who made a living and make a living creating content for 5e and other earlier editions of the game. So for me, moving forward, I plan to keep discussing D&D in my videos, but I'm also going to explore other tabletop role-playing games. And the situation with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast is ongoing, and they still have a long way to regain the trust of the community. We should continue to use social media to respond, and the surveys that they use as well, to make our voices heard and remind them that we are watching their actions. It's also important to speak out against the company, but do so respectfully without attacking or harassing any individuals who work there. Most of the people that work at D&D are actually on our side. And after taking this much damage, self-inflicted by the way, it's not clear how many chances Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have to rebuild trust and resurrect the brand. But I suggest they take some advice from their own book. In the 5th edition Player's Handbook, page 197 to be exact, and I'm sure all of you execs already play and know about this already, but let me just say, it basically tells you that when you're down to 0 hit points, you have to make death saves to determine if you survive or not. You make 3 successful saves, and hey, you're back up. But 3 failures put you down for good. The community is the one keeping track of these, and I genuinely hope you can pull this off. Cheers.